Welcome back to your live continuing coverage of Toy Fair 2017, here live from the Jacob K. Javits Center in New York City. I'm Michael Artsis. You're the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special at BeTerrific TV on all social media. I am really excited about this show. We've been having a lot of fun. We're bringing you behind the scenes of Toy Fair 2017. It's exclusive. Never do you get to go into Toy Fair. We've done it for the last 3 years and we're doing it better than ever this year, and I'm really excited about it. All right, just a quick note. Internet at the Javits here is not working. We're using the LiveView LU500 to broadcast live, which is our roving camera pack. We're broadcasting our regular feed off of this, and so we're not on all of our channels. We're on BeTerrific.com. We're on Toy Fair site. We're syndicated to all our partners, but right now we're also on Facebook Live, but we're not on YouTube, which I know a lot of you like to watch on, so you can put it on your big screens, or it's the easiest way to do that. We're working on the problem. That also means, though, that I don't have internet access right now, as they're working on it literally right now, so I'm not in the Slack chat, and I apologize. But keep having fun there. I'll be back there soon. And that's your programming note. At BeTerrific TV on all social media. Connect to BeTerrific.com. Keep your feedback coming. Our next guest is a company that started life on Kickstarter. They started in April, basically.
Yep.
And the product is called Boy Story.
Yes.
And I imagine this is dolls aimed more at boys. And it's very interesting because when I was a kid, I remember vividly that I wanted to play with dolls-ish and like Barbie and stuff, and it just didn't feel right. And there were, other than Ken, there were no real dolls for boys. And then there was G.I. Joe, but I've never been into military and army stuff. I love our servicemen and women who fight and defend our freedom. I thank them every time I see them. But I think maybe at a young age I always knew that that wasn't the right path for me, and that it wasn't something I was capable of. I love that I can put my head on my pillow at night and feel safe because of the men and women who defend our freedom. And my grandfather was one of those people. Actually, both my grandfathers were. And I can't tell them how much I appreciate it enough. However, I think I always knew that that wasn't me, and I was never attracted to the G.I. Joe characters. I think because of that. And so there weren't really toys for boys that were dolls that you could play, dress up, and do things with. And now there are.
Yes.
And you guys are perfect proof of it. And this guy with his shirt on that you took off before to show some of his features looked exactly like Howie Doody, which I loved because that cracked me up. And I had like one of those Howie Doody things where I could make him talk, and I was going to be a ventriloquist. Hey, look over here, kids, not over here.
Do it with him a little bit.
Yeah, and then and so that's the box over there, which we'll show in a minute. But what's this guy called?
So this is Mason.
Yeah.
We have two dolls as our first product launch.
Sure.
Mason and Billy, who's in the other box. And he is an 18-inch standard fashion doll, but what's really unique about him is that he has ball joints in the wrists, arms, and knees, so that kids can really move him and play with him in a more active way than you would see with a traditional
kind
doll.
of a new concept, right? I mean, even Barbie had the arms that just did this, right?
Yeah.
Like Dr. Evil. It was like Dr. Evil Barbie.
Well, you can move their shoulders. Yeah, I mean, and even when you see most 18-inch dolls
Mattel's
today
never
are
coming
still...
on now. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's totally fine. We actually call them action dolls because they're a little bit of that
so it's
crossover
kind of like,
between an action figure and a traditional doll.
Right, it's kind of got the G.I. Joe action figure. You know, and then I did have like He-Man and stuff like that, and eventually had the wrestling figures. They had those.
Yeah.
But those didn't, I don't know.
Well, and the big difference between G.I. Joe, and we get the G.I. Joe thing all the time, and the big difference is G.I. Joe's a grown army man, right? These are same age dolls, so there's a little bit of a different type of play that parents want to encourage in their children, and especially in their boys, but the toys for encouraging that type of play, specifically relational play, same age kind of friendships, nurturing, emotional intelligence sort of play, that wasn't really there with the G.I. Joes or the Army Men, but it's there with dolls. So we're trying to encourage boys to start to participate in that play a little bit more.
There are a lot of people who would say boys shouldn't play with dolls. Even today, there are a lot of people who would say that, and
it's getting better.
But the question would be, why? What do you get from playing with dolls that a boy needs and should have, other than I just want to play with this because it's a toy?
Well, dolls are exceptionally important.
And you kind of started to talk about it, but I want to expand on that.
So as children age, especially ages 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right in that range, they develop and their play styles change over time, and dolls are a really important part of that, because when they're a little bit younger, they start to talk to the doll. Maybe they move the doll up and down. Motor skills are developed, but as they get a little bit older, they actually really engage in imaginative and creative play, pretend play, role playing, where they set up a scenario, set up a story, set up some way that they're going to interact with their friend, their doll, and they'll engage with their friends or whatever, as they do it. So it's really important for developing emotional intelligence and the type of relational play that ultimately leads us to be relational and understanding and empathetic adults. And I mean, it's just as important for every human to be able to develop those skills, but boys have kind of been cut out of that picture for a long time. And what we've really seen is that parents are tired of that, and they want to have tools to give to their boys to teach them those skills.
Well, and there's no better proof than your Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, that was really cool, because the Kickstarter, people are like, why did you do a Kickstarter? Can't you just fund it yourself? And well, we say Kickstarter is a lot more than just getting money. It's about getting community support and seeing what parents want and seeing what kids want. And you see that with Kickstarter.
And proving that people want this and that there's a market for it. And also, it's a marketing tool as well. But also getting feedback and being able to tweak it. Maybe, I don't know, I'm sure you tweaked it at some point. Maybe you didn't have the ball joints to start. Maybe you added those, or it was something else. Or, maybe you didn't have the little hair kickback. I don't know, or the eyes were, different. And maybe some parents thought they were creepy and you should change them to this. I don't know, or, who knows? Maybe it needs brown eyes and this one needs blue eyes and this one. You get the feedback from the customers. What were some of those things?
So one of the things that we got a lot of debate about with customers was the hair. And
I kind of hit on that, didn't I?
Their hair is pretty cool, but it's molded. And when you see most traditional dolls, they have wigged hair or rooted hair. And what we wanted a doll that kids could actually play with and not just put on a shelf. And so the hair, when it's real hair, often gets matted or really kind of gross over time, especially with short boy hair. It's hard.
I was going to say, especially with boys playing with it, it's going to have ketchup in it.
Yeah, sometimes. And these we were like, oh, you drag it through the mud and then you kind of wipe it off with a washcloth and it's okay. So we had a lot of customers, especially parents, not, like the doll collectors and things like that, they like the real hair because of tradition's sake. But really the parents who are buying for kids right now, ages 3 to 8, they really wanted the molded hair, so we went with that.
I used to have hair just like that, and it was molded just like that too. Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
I can arrange that later. But yeah, it was. Everybody thought it was plastic. I'd have people go to touch it. Yeah.
You should get a picture out for your Terrifics.
They've seen it. They have.
Very
I know
cool.
It's strange now. I look like a cone head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I was thinking, if I had only had this when I was a kid, I wouldn't have had to have so many imaginary friends.
I mean, you can add as many imaginary friends as you want to our line. Right. It's perfect.
And now you've got Billy over there too.
Yep.
So these are the first two.
Yep.
And they come in a nice box. Why don't you give me Mason. I'll hold Mason. You show the box off.
Sure.
And the box is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, so we wanted something that was kind of like a keepsake item that you can store the doll's clothes and maybe some, stones and acorns that you collect in the woods along the way.
Wow.
You can, so we made the box kind of like part of the toy because it's something that kids can really keep and collect them in.
You want to turn it towards the camera a little?
Oh yeah,
I noticed that my son, he's 3, he loves keeping boxes and putting things in the boxes, and I didn't really love that as a kid. I wanted everything out on the floor. But I will tell you, it's interesting that you thought of it that way. Yeah. And also, I do remember, because there weren't toys, dolls for boys, the Cabbage Patch doll was a big thing for me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted one so badly. And I remember my mother physically fighting somebody in Toys R Us around Christmas time for it.
Yeah. We had some competition for our dolls around Christmas actually, because we had our first shipment come in November and they were sold out before they hit the ground, which was awesome. And now we have some more in stock and we're so excited to be here. This is our first time at the Toy Fair. This is our first time into this whole industry.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
What do you think of Toy Fair so far?
So cool. I wish I had my 4-year-old here because he would be going bonkers. Actually, I wish I didn't have him. I'm glad I don't have him here because he would probably...
It's funny. I was walking around yesterday for the first time. My son's 3.5, and I thought, well, for the first time, there are no kids allowed here.
Yeah.
Unless they're part of a booth, right? They help you demonstrate something.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I could have him come in for 1 or 2 to do an interview. He's a little young, but I was starting to think in a year or 2.
Things, yeah.
And then I thought, I don't know if this would be a good idea. He'd go, no, I'd never get him to the set. We'd never get past the front door.
You would never.
Yeah. And
he'd
literally
see
his head would
PJ
explode.
Masks or whatever and just go crazy.
Now I know why kids aren't allowed. His head would literally...
I know. Yeah, I know. So, well.
And so the Cabbage Patch thing, it was a crazy phenomenon. I guess you're experiencing that too a little. Literally, I remember going to Toys R Us and just empty. People were ripping them out of the boxes. There were boxes strewn everywhere.
I don't think that would be allowed these days.
No, it was nuts. It was, they made a whole movie like Jingle All the Way because of it. Something like that. It was with
cool.
Sinbad and Schwarzenegger. I want this toy. Just give it to me, please, now.
Yeah.
But
no fighting over Toy Story.
It was a crazy scene, but it's great that you guys are doing so well.
It's really awesome. We've seen like a lot of companies come out right now that are trying to cross some of the traditional gender stereotypes, and because parents know that that's not how kids play.
How did you guys decide to do this? I mean, this is your first time at Toy Fair. It seems like you're newbies to the industry.
We are.
Yeah.
Can I set this box down?
Yeah, you can put it down. Sure.
So I actually mentioned that I have a boy. I have two boys, and when I was pregnant with the younger one, I wanted to buy a doll for my older son, the 4-year-old, and I couldn't find anything that was cool, durable, and looked like him. And so I was like, where is this? I can't believe this doesn't exist. And I was a lawyer, and I am a lawyer still at the time. I'm not practicing law anymore.
I was going to say, I hope you haven't given up your law degree.
I haven't given up my law degree.
Denounced the bar.
No, I have not done that. But I was practicing law at the time, and so I did a little bit of research because that's what I do as a lawyer. And I started looking into this, and like the demand from parents for boy dolls was just almost overwhelming, and then I looked at what the market was providing, and it wasn't there. And
how do you create a doll? I mean, you don't know how to mold plastic. You have to find manufacturers. It's got to be so far from what your world was.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty creative. I also have a wonderful partner who is a designer.
Okay.
She's helped with a lot of this.
Did you like the first prototypes? Did you like bake the plastic in an oven or something like that?
Absolutely not. No.
I imagine you guys sitting in the kitchen, like painting it by hand, baking some plastic in an oven, molding it, sculpting it.
In a nutshell, the process is this. Creative design, you sketch it out. We get someone to do a 3D model for us that we do have full creative input in, and then we do a 3D print. And then we use that to actually go on to make our master molds for the dolls.
And did you send it to like SolidWorks or something or did you pay somebody to 3D print it, or did you buy a 3D printer and start prototyping?
It's all a secret.
It's all a secret.
It's all a secret.
Okay, we have a 3D printer. We could have done it for you. Just saying.
We use a lot of different resources. And actually, one thing that was really cool is that my business partner came to the Toy Fair last year just to kind of check out the industry, see what we would be doing, and met a lot of great people. And the networking and the resources have been amazing.
The industry is very helpful.
The industry is really great. And there are a lot of small, awesome, small startup businesses like this where people are doing similar things. They've learned the ropes. Maybe they're a year out, a year advanced from us, and they've been really helpful.
We had Button-Nosed Kids on a couple years ago. They just had this great idea, and they came by kind of like your partner last year. They didn't have a booth or anything. They begged to come on. They had a cool idea. We said, okay, let's follow their story. Let's see what happens. I really thought they'd never be here. Last year, they were here with a booth. They'll be on later in the week. This is their second year at Toy Fair displaying, and they're doing great. And they talked about how, and we've learned how the industry helps everybody. It's a really great industry.
It's really wonderful.
And everybody's very helpful. And the networking you can do here is really the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, this is the very beginning of our first day, our first Toy Fair. So
Todd McFarlane is a very famous toy maker. He was been on this set many times. We walked off set together, and I walked him back to his booth last year, and he told me he started in this very room. He showed me exactly where his first Toy Fair was, and he said he didn't know what he was doing. He spent all his money to be here. He didn't think he'd make it another day. Literally, some guy from Toys R Us comes marching down the aisle, stops at his booth, and goes, "You, come with me." And everybody had been standing like at attention. It was the most amazing story. I wish he had told it on air. And everybody's standing at attention as the Toys R Us buyer just comes down the aisle. Everybody like, and everybody's standing there, and he just turns to Todd. He goes, "You, come with me." And from there, it was off to the races.
That's awesome.
One connection
We're
here.
waiting for our moment.
Yes, and well, clearly you're going to have it. And you have a lot of diversity with the dolls, too, which is very nice, because that doesn't happen a lot. And I'm sure in some of your research you came across that.
Yeah, it's actually, there's in our research we learned that there are a lot of parents demanding more diverse dolls, meaning obviously gender diversity, but also racial diversity. And a lot of times you see lines of dolls where the first doll that comes out is always, one white doll, and then they kind of build from there. A lot of times they'll take one face mold, and then they'll change the face color. But we wanted to do something very different. We wanted to prioritize diversity in our brand. So we basically made a corporate promise that we're always going to launch 2 at a time, and that our dolls are going to be unique with features that are designed to celebrate and embrace their own ethnic background. So that's what we did. Mason actually has a Hispanic father in his book. They come with storybooks, by the way, which we have back at our booth.
But she buried the lead, everybody.
Yeah, he has a Hispanic father, and he's African American.
That's why it's Boy Story.
Yep, and then our next two dolls that are planned are Kenji and Aspen.
Okay.
And Kenji is Japanese, and Aspen is kind of like Scandinavian doll.
Very nice.
Looks a little bit like my son, but
gee, I wonder how you got inspiration
I don't know how
for
that
one.
happened.
Yeah. Very cool.
And we have demands for redhead, and we also have a lot of demands for colored hair. So we're going to have to figure out how we can incorporate
blue hair.
Like blue hair.
What if you
Everyone
sold
wants blue hair.
Like a hair attachment that went on?
I know.
And you could have different colors.
We have so many
but
great
still
ideas.
molded hair, but it could.
We have some ideas about how to alter hair color in the future.
Well, so. I mean, they got the color changing cars. My son has those. He loves those. You put them in water. What about color changing hair?
Yeah.
Is that something you
could do it?
Oh.
It is possible.
It's don't tell anyone. That's a secret too. Oops.
Oh, wait, are we on TV?
We're not live. Don't worry. We'll edit that out.
There's no internet.
There's no internet, but there's a LiveView LU500.
Oh.
Bonded cellular. We're good.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Thank you so much for coming on. I love the story.
Awesome.
I love the company. Enjoy Toy Fair.
Appreciate it.
Your first Toy Fair
So
ever.
excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Woo.
This is your live continuing coverage of Toy Fair 2017 on BeTerrific. I'm Michael Artsis. You're the Terrific. Stay with us. We'll be back with a whole lot more right after this.